Hey all, Laura here, and today in my loft I will be making a Mandrake root out of polymer clay. Here are some of the supplies that I used, which I'll also list down below. Most of these supplies can be found at any craft store. I picked up a clay pot, some tools for the Sculpting clay. I also found these leaves, although you can get fake plants and cut them if you can't find single leaves. I got this bottle light I thought I could light up the Mandrake with. And of course some aluminum foil and armature wire to make the form. I also picked up some glue just in case and some alcohol to wipe away fingerprints. So first step is you want to marvel at how armature wire is like a slinky. Next we are going to start to make the form of the Mandrake. And I kept checking to see how he was fitting inside of the pot when I added on the arms and the legs. And then I started to build them up from there, building up the arms and the legs. Quickly, my form took the shape of a horrifying looking sloth, so I knew it was time to start to condition the clay and put that guy aside. After rolling out a thin piece of clay, I wrapped it around my form until the entire figure was covered. Next I had to figure out what I wanted to use as roots to come out of the arms and legs. I found this roll of hemp in my attic from back in the day when I used to make hemp bracelets, so I stuck them into the aluminum and then covered the ends with the clay. Okay, form is looking good, fitting into the pot well. And then I realized I forgot to put the branches coming out of the top of his head, so I had to do some open brain surgery and make some branches out of armature wire and aluminum foil, shove them into the head, and cover them with clay. I smooth the three tops of the branches together to give it more support, especially for when I'm putting in the leaves. So I forgot to hit record when I traced the face, but basically I took a sharp tool and I drew in where I wanted the nose, the eyes, and the mouth to be. And now I am just building them up with some clay and the tools, shaping out that face. Next I rolled a bunch of small pieces of clay and stuck them all over the Mandrake's body just to give him more of a root look, like he's been underground, he's all gnarled. And I used the tools as well as my finger to try and smooth that clay into the body so it gave it more of a smooth transition between the body and the roots. And this part took a while. I could have gone on longer, but I had enough of adding the texture like that, so I went to the sharp object tool and decided to draw in the rest of the texture onto the arms and the legs. Next, I used some of the rubbing alcohol to brush away any fingerprints that were left into the clay. So our Mandrake is almost ready for his little sauna experience. Before I put him in, I did place the leaves on top just to get the holes into the clay so that when he was finished baking, I had a space to put the leaves inside of. I took them out before I baked him, and I also took out the hemp coming out of the arms and the legs because I wasn't sure if they could go in the oven or not, and I did not want to start a fire because that would be a great addition to 2021. Now I'm rolling these little nuts or whatever they're supposed to be on the top here. I did glue them in with the Sculpey, and I baked an additional 5 minutes just to harden those balls in the Sculpey glue. While it was baking, I started to paint my pot here, my clay pot, with a wash of burnt umber acrylic paint, mostly water, some paint on there. I wanted to give it an old look, and I also ended up putting some just darker, drippier paint on the sides to make it look like dirt. And once our little Mandrake was cooled from the oven, I started to paint him a base coat of black. After I finished with the acrylic black base coat, I took some acrylic burnt sienna and began to stipple on top of the black paint, basically just tapping all around with a minimal amount of paint on the brush. And then I had to figure out how to get the hemp rope back inside the feet and the arms. This was a little harder than I thought. The holes were not big enough. I think in retrospect I would have done something a little bit different, although in the end it still worked out. Then I started to untwist some of the rope to make it more root looking. I twirled glue on the edges just to help them stay and not unravel anymore. And then I took some green oxide acrylic paint and stippled on over the brown using the paintbrush and my finger to help spread it out so it wasn't so thick. I ended up putting gesso on the bottoms of the arms and the feet and then blending in the colors with black, the brown, and the green again so that they all blended together. It was looking a little clumpy with the glue. And now I'm going in with black paint for the eyes and the mouth and also some shading underneath some of the roots. Now I'm just taking some brown paint and painting the roots coming out of the arms and legs. And last, I'm taking a little bit of yellow to add some highlights to some of the roots that are popping up from the body. And now I'm adding some decoupage to the mouth and the eye area just to give it a little bit of a glossy shine. Next, it's time to work on the leaves, so I am stripping some of the plastic off of the wire and slipping it into the holes that I made previously, and then I'm gluing them with a hot glue gun. And I noticed that the top looks a little ratty up there with all the glue sticking out. I ended up taking some leaves from another plant that fit nicely up there, and I just glued them on to cover up all that nastiness. And here we go. He is going into the pot, fitting very nice. I bought this rechargeable USB light that you can stick inside bottles, and I thought I could put it underneath him so that there was light coming up from the bottom. That was the original idea. Although once I put it in, I didn't like how it was just shining directly onto his face and it was freaky looking, so I ended up scratching that idea and just put some fairy lights in the bottom of the pot. Lastly, I added some moss into the pot and put some fairy lights underneath it. I strung it through the bottom of the pot, which came out really nice because that way there's no wires sticking out the top. Okay, and here is the finished Mandrake root. Remember that legend has it, if you pull it out and you hear its cry, it will kill you. It's also used in European witchcraft for mind-altering and hallucinogenic effects. Starting in the late Middle Ages and thereafter, some believe that witches used these ointments or ingested these potions that included the Mandrake root to help them fly to gatherings with other witches or meet with the devil. Or so Wikipedia says. So always be careful with your mandrakes and keep your earmuffs nearby. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.